This is guy Ilia Topuria, and Ilia Topuria is one of the absolute best fighters in the world. He's the current UFC featherweight champion. The dude is just phenomenal. But when one of the things that's phenomenal about him is his technique.
The UFC just confirmed the most pressure-packed title fight in combat sports history, and one fighter is already showing he's ready to make this White House main event absolutely unforgettable. Ilia Topuria versus Justin Gaethje for lightweight supremacy, happening on the most iconic stage any fighter has ever stepped foot on. Before the ink was even dry on the contracts, before the promotional machine could spin into full gear, Topuria was already sending a message. The reigning lightweight king started dropping training footage that tells you everything about his mindset right now. We're not talking about some flashy Instagram content designed to get likes. These are real glimpses into a champion's preparation, and what you're seeing is absolutely terrifying for anyone who has to face him. Crisp striking combinations that look like they're being painted by an artist, footwork drills so precise they could be used in textbooks, controlled sparring sessions where every movement has purpose. This isn't a fighter trying to impress his training partners or show off for cameras. This is a legitimate destroyer methodically sharpening every weapon in his arsenal. The kind of preparation that separates champions from pretenders, the kind of work that ends fights in devastating fashion. Here's what makes this whole situation absolutely wild. Dana White isn't treating this like just another title fight that happened to land on a historic card. He's calling this the perfect headliner for the most significant venue in combat sports history. When Dana talks about Topuria, he's using words like genuinely impressive and elite champion, which is massive praise coming from someone who's seen every great fighter of the modern era. Then he points to Gaethje's last performance as exactly the kind of statement-making destruction that earned Justin this shot. In Dana's mind, this isn't filler content or a backup plan. This is championship versus championship chaos, the kind of belt unification drama that deserves to happen on the White House lawn. And honestly, when you break down what both fighters bring to this fight, it's impossible to argue with that assessment.
The main event, Ilia Topuria, one of the most sensational champions we've ever seen inside the octagon, facing Justin Gaethje, which I think is the absolute perfect matchup for him. Justin deserves it after the Paddy Pimblett fight. Ilia Topuria has been just a complete and total phenom, and I can't wait to see what happens.
But here's where things get really interesting. Demetrius Johnson, one of the greatest fighters who ever lived, has been analyzing this matchup from every possible angle. Mighty Mouse likes what he sees from a pure competition standpoint, and his breakdown reveals why this fight is so fascinating. He's got Topuria as the rightful favorite, and when you hear his reasoning, it makes perfect sense. Ilia brings this beautifully balanced skill set where every department is elite level. His fight IQ shows up in every single exchange, making adjustments in real time that lesser fighters can't even recognize. His chin has been tested by legitimate knockout artists and never cracked. And that knockout power? It makes literally every moment of every round dangerous for whoever's standing across from him. But here's what Johnson finds most intriguing about this whole thing. Justin has shown the ability to adjust his approach based on what his opponents bring to the table. Sometimes he dials back that pure, reckless brawling style and plays a more measured, selective game where he picks his spots instead of just charging forward like a maniac. The million-dollar question that has Mighty Mouse genuinely curious. How much of that tactical adjustment can Gaethje actually implement when Topuria is pressuring forward with that suffocating, relentless style that breaks fighters mentally before it breaks them physically?
Talk about the fights, okay? The main event is Justin Gaethje taking on Ilia Topuria. I like that fight. I think it's a great fight. I think the biggest thing, like off the top of my head, I think Ilia Topuria knocks him out. But I do see a world where Justin Gaethje could knock him out as well. But Ilia Topuria is so damn good and his IQ is really high and he can take a shot and he damn well can give a shot. But the other flip side of this, what makes me excited, is to see how Justin Gaethje approaches it after spending time with him playing football, because when he was talking about Paddy Pimblett, he was like, well, Paddy can't kick, so I was okay going into his power. How will he approach this fight against Ilia Topuria with someone who can kick and has a lot of power?
Now hold up, because there's been some serious pushback on the narrative surrounding this entire card. Ariel Helwani has been going hard against fans who are calling this event a disappointment just because it doesn't feature 8 title fights stacked on top of each other. And honestly, he's absolutely right to call out that nonsense. Expectations spiraled completely out of control when people started fantasizing about some impossible dream card that was never realistic to begin with. Fans built up these fever dream scenarios in their heads, then got upset when reality didn't match their wildest imaginations. But here's the thing that those critics are missing completely. When you actually break down what this main event offers from a pure fighting standpoint, it's absolutely elite-level entertainment waiting to happen. You've got a technical assassin who's been finishing elite opponents at a terrifying rate, going against a proven destroyer, who's built his entire Hall of Fame career on creating absolute chaos inside the octagon.
2 title fights. It was not the 7 to 8 title fights as was initially promised. It's a marquee main event. I know that there are some people who are upset. I know that there are some people who are trying to say like, hey, this is a letdown. This is an incredible 6-fight card, and it was never going to be 7 to 8 title fights. That was never going to happen. That would screw up the rest of their schedule. Ilia Topuria coming back against Justin Gaethje is a massive, massive fight. It is a marquee fight. It is one of the biggest fights of the year. Topuria coming back after everything he's been through, almost exactly a year between fights, is a very big deal. Pereira being on...
And get this, some conspiracy theorists have been floating around this absolutely ridiculous idea that the UFC wouldn't allow Gaethje to lose as the American headliner because of optics or symbolism or whatever. The MMA guru completely destroys that entire line of thinking, and he's absolutely right to do it. If this fight plays out the way the actual skill matchup suggests it should, Topuria should be the favorite, period. He's significantly younger than Justin, right in the middle of his athletic prime where everything is firing on all cylinders. That legitimate one-shot knockout power in his hands can end any fight in a single explosive moment. These are things that Gaethje absolutely has to respect every second he's in there, because one mistake against Topuria and you're waking up wondering what happened. At the same time, though, Guru sees exactly why Justin loves this matchup despite being the underdog on paper. His entire fighting style guarantees forward pressure and constant exchanges, which means this fight should be absolutely wild from the opening bell. And realistically, it could be over in a single devastating instant if either fighter lands that perfect shot at the perfect moment.
Done. There was massive skepticism. And I also know that Topuria versus Gaethje happened rather quickly as well. And so my feeling is, and I just want to say, the UFC put the fear of God in every MMA manager out there. Like I'm not really in the fight breaking news business anymore, but I did poke around in the dying days. Once Dana White said that they had to, I wanted to see what was up. I even told guys like, I don't even care. Like, I'm not trying to break this. I'm just curious. That's the God's honest truth. They put the fear of God in these managers, and they've been doing this for a long time, but never quite like...
Listen to how Gaethje himself approached this whole situation, because it tells you everything about his mindset right now. The absolute second this fight was officially made and signed, his training camp hit the resume button without any pause whatsoever. No extended layoff where he loses his edge, no gradual buildup where he slowly gets back into fighting shape. He wanted to roll straight from one intense preparation phase directly into the next without losing any momentum or sharpness. But here's what makes this so much bigger than just another title fight for Justin. When he talks about this opportunity, he brings up his small-town Arizona roots, his family's background in copper mining, that blue-collar work ethic that shaped everything about who he is as a person. The idea of wearing his country's colors on the White House lawn feels like a once-in-a-lifetime responsibility that transcends sports completely. In his mind, this isn't just another championship opportunity that might come around again down the road. This is a genuine chance to represent where he comes from, his family, his community, everything he stands for, all on a stage that literally nobody else in combat sports history has ever fought on before. That weight of responsibility, that sense of historic significance, is driving every single thing he's doing in preparation right now.
They're never going to have a US fighter lose in the main event. Yeah, they are. Justin Gaethje's going to lose to Ilia Topuria in the main event in the White House. If he pulls it off, it'll be cinema, okay? And I'll assume that the rig is in. And Topuria has been paid $10 million to make the US look good on the world stage. Because Gaethje, he's the All-American. He's red, white, he bleeds red, white, and blue, brother. You know what I mean? He's going to be there. He's the only American that's even in conversations to ever be in a title fight. Unless they did Yan O'Malley too. Which people would still complain about, by the way. But it's the only other way they could have a US fighter in a title fight. Jones was never coming back. But Topuria Gaethje's a sick fight. Amazing fight. Love it. I think it's great as the main event of this White House card. But we could have done with a stronger undercard. And that.
But here's where it gets absolutely fascinating from a tactical standpoint. When Gaethje breaks down the actual problem he needs to solve to win this fight, he keeps coming back to the same core concern. It's not just Topuria's knockout power that worries him most, even though you'd be stupid not to respect it. The real danger in Justin's mind is how precisely and consistently Ilya finds his target in every single exchange. It's not just that he hits hard. It's that he hits hard exactly where he wants to, exactly when he wants to, with the kind of timing and accuracy that turns good fighters into highlight reel victims. In Gaethje's tactical mind, the key to winning this fight isn't just being tough enough to eat big shots and fire back with your own power, because that's a losing game long-term against someone this precise. The real key is actively disrupting those reads, never allowing Topuria to get comfortable enough or settled enough to dial in that pinpoint accuracy that makes him so devastatingly effective. Even when interviewers bring up all the symbolism and historic significance of potentially lifting that belt at the White House, Gaethje keeps deliberately dragging the conversation back to that core tactical challenge, because he knows that's what actually determines whether he wins or loses when that cage door closes.
Out for you? What's the plan?
Yeah, I mean, it starts now. I mean, I'm going home tomorrow, and Monday I'll be in the gym, you know, back. I've had my chef with me since the last fight. I knew this was coming, so, you know, I was not too banged up after last fight, thankfully, and I'm ready to go.
Justin,
ready to get back into work.
Obviously, you're fighting for the undisputed championship of the world.
Yeah.
That's insane. But as a proud American, what does it mean to be main event at Freedom 250 at the White House? What does that mean to you personally?
Yeah, I mean, I can be as cliche as you want me to be. I mean, this is this is huge. You know, this is you know, coming from such a small town in the United States, southeastern Arizona. You know, from a copper mining family. I love this country. I've loved it. You know, you grow up representing your small town, you know, your mascot at school, and then it was college, and now I get to represent this country. So I mean, this is special to me. It's such a great honor and opportunity to highlight, you know, to finish or you know, not finish, but the end of my career has been so special. The caliber of fighters such as this guy that I have fought since the beginning has been incredible. And to see my story come you know, in full circle like this and get an opportunity like this to be a headline of UFC 300, to be the headline of the UFC Paramount premiere, and to get this opportunity, you know, shows that, you know, I'm something special when I'm in there, and I believe I'm the most exciting guy. That's why.
From a promotional standpoint, Oscar Willis thinks Gaethje makes perfect sense for this particular event. On a fight card tied so heavily to the White House, to national symbolism, to American pride and everything that comes with it, having an American brawler in the headline slot feels completely on brand for what they're trying to accomplish. Even if the betting odds say he's the clear underdog going in, Willis calls it a really strong choice from a narrative and storytelling angle. Topuria is absolutely the rightful favorite when you break down the matchup technically, but Gaethje's fighting style and proven resume make it literally impossible to count him out completely. We've all seen him pull off shocking comebacks and devastating knockouts when nobody gave him a chance. His entire career has been built on turning fights around with single moments of beautiful violence that come out of absolutely nowhere. That's exactly the kind of unpredictable danger that makes this main event so compelling, because you genuinely don't know which version of this fight you're going to get when these two finally meet.
Technical abilities. I mean, he fights a very good fight. You know, he does a very good job of controlling distance. His footwork is special, and that's going to be the biggest task for me, is to control his feet and control distance and not let him, you know, find those power shots. There's no doubt he hits hard, and I obviously hit hard as well, but timing is everything. The reason his shots are so effective is because his timing is so perfect, and I'm going to have to disrupt that timing.
Go ahead, please, Kate.
Well, I was just going to say, just real quick, have you spoken to your family since the news dropped?
So my mom,
Wraps the undisputed lightweight championship around your waist.
that would be special, but not as special as accomplishing what I set out to accomplish when I started this journey, and that is to become the undisputed champion. And to do it against like a guy like Ilia Topuria on the White House lawn will be absolutely special, and Trump handing me the belt will be icing on the cake.
Well, congrats. We are super excited.
Luke Thomas looks at this matchup as something the lightweight division basically demanded had to happen next. With Topuria holding the undisputed championship belt and Gaethje carrying the interim strap after his last performance, there's really no wiggle room in what needs to happen. The next move in the division's story writes itself when you look at the situation logically. In Luke's words, once you have two champions operating in the same weight class at the same time, the cleanest and most fair solution becomes obvious and unavoidable. You put both of them in the octagon together and find out definitively who the actual king of the division is. No questions remaining afterward. But here's where it gets interesting from a behind-the-scenes perspective. Oscar Willis strongly suspects that Topuria versus Gaethje wasn't actually Plan A for the main event of this White House card. He thinks the UFC originally had their sights set on a completely different super fight for this historic venue. And when that preferred option fell apart in negotiations or scheduling, the promotion found itself having to pivot really quickly. This unification bout was the highest stakes, highest quality matchup they could actually close and finalize in the limited time they had remaining.
Of the whole event, I think you can say what you want about Justin's chances in that fight. Obviously, a lot of people have him as the underdog, quite a favorable, quite a significant one against Ilia. But if you're going to go for the whole American vibe and fucking fly over jets and all the rest of it, Justin Gaethje probably makes sense, right? So I think that fight is good. It's thematically correct. And let's say Justin, pulls off the upset. I mean...
Here's the kicker, though. Willis is quick to point out that just because this might have been Plan B from a promotional standpoint, that doesn't make it any less exciting from a pure fight fan perspective. Topuria walks into this cage on an absolutely terrifying streak of vicious finishes and constantly growing momentum with each performance. Gaethje's entire career, his whole identity as a fighter, has been built on creating these wildfire fights that people talk about for years and stacking up fight of the night bonuses like they're going out of style. That particular blend of Topuria's cold efficiency and Gaethje's beautiful violence is exactly why Luke fully expects this matchup to deliver absolutely elite entertainment value, whether it's happening in a regular arena or on the White House lawn. Sometimes the backup plan turns out to be better than the original idea, and this feels like one of those situations where everything just fell into place perfectly.
UFC history for the American fan base anyway. So I don't really hate that fight. And
James Lynch reads the situation basically the same way when you ask him about it. Once Gaethje went out there and claimed that interim championship belt in his last fight, this unification bout became the completely obvious choice for the main event, whether casual fans liked other potential names or not. Lynch acknowledges that, sure, some fans were loudly calling for other contenders like Arman Tsarukyan to somehow slip into the spot instead. But from a traditional matchmaking standpoint, from how the sport is supposed to work structurally, the interim champion fights the undisputed champion next. That's literally the entire point of having an interim belt in the first place. That's exactly why, from James's perspective, seeing Topuria versus Gaethje officially land on this White House poster felt inevitable and logical rather than shocking or surprising to anyone paying attention to how these things actually work.
So we do this, we react. Ilia Topuria versus Justin Gaethje is the main event in Washington, D.C. for the Freedom Fights 250, the American-themed event at the White House. We'll go through it sort of line by line. I don't want to reveal too much because I want to ask Dana about this at the press conference. I don't think this was the original main event they had. I think yesterday that fight fell out. I think they had alternate plans for Ilia, and for whatever reason they had to pivot, and I believe they finally got something done with Ilia to accept the Justin Gaethje fight at the White House. I think if you look at the American theme of the whole event, I think you can say what you want about...
And all of those perspectives are exactly why this one single matchup is carrying so much of the card's excitement and energy on its shoulders. Topuria feels like one of the sport's most genuinely dangerous champions right now, just slicing through high-level opponents and finishing elite fighters at this frightening rate that makes you question if anyone can actually hang with him. Gaethje has built an entire Hall of Fame caliber career on willingly stepping into absolute chaos and turning entire fights around with a single hellacious shot that comes out of nowhere. If Ilya manages to keep the exchanges clean and technical, uses his footwork and distance management the way he wants to, he could very realistically add another absolutely brutal knockout highlight to his already impressive run as champion. But if Justin succeeds in dragging him into a complete car crash of a fight, into that phone booth brawl where technique breaks down and it becomes about heart and power and who wants it more, the whole thing could flip completely in a heartbeat, and we could be watching Gaethje pull off a massive upset that nobody saw coming. This genuinely doesn't feel like the kind of main event that drifts quietly to the judges' scorecards after 5 rounds of safe, technical fighting. This feels like fireworks waiting to happen, like 2 elite destroyers on a collision course that can only end one way.
Versus Justin Gaethje. Of all the available choices that they have, yes, would have been great to have, Ilya versus Arman or Ilya versus Islam, sure. But in a world where Gaethje is already the interim champion based on UFC 324, this is the fight that has to happen to unify those titles, right? Because Ilya has the normal title and Gaethje has the interim one. The fight will be exciting. I know people were talking like, oh, you can't have an American get stretched on the White House lawn. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. There's absolutely no connection historically to mixed martial arts and I don't know, the patriotic trimmings generally. More to the point, like, this is an important fight. You've got an American in it, and if Ilya wins, you're now putting over on one of your sort of more significant cards one of the most important guys currently on your roster and maybe for the future of.
So there you have it. The most pressure-packed title fight in UFC history is officially set, featuring a technical assassin who's been finishing everyone put in front of him against a proven chaos creator who thrives in the biggest moments. This isn't just about lightweight supremacy anymore. This is about who can handle the weight of fighting on the most iconic stage in American history while the entire world watches. And honestly, I think we're about to witness something absolutely special that people will be talking about for decades. So here's my question for you. Drop it in the comments. Who are you backing in this massive unification fight, Topuria or Gaethje? And more importantly, how do you actually see it ending when these two finally collide on that historic White House lawn? If this breakdown helped you understand why this main event is so incredibly stacked, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell because this is just the beginning of the coverage leading up to the most significant fight card in combat sports history. I'll see you in the next one.
With the main event of Topuria and Gaethje. So Alvaro Cornameno, who I mentioned a couple weeks back, looks like he was wrong about that report because he thought this fight might not happen on the White House card. It is. Maybe something changed. I don't know. But yeah, this is a great main event for the card. Everyone's excited. You know, a lot of people feel like it should be Arman and Ilya, but obviously Gaethje won the interim title, so he's up next. He's going to fight Ilya Topuria in this fight, so that makes sense.
All of that context